So thank you everybody for joining us today. It's beautiful to see all these beautiful souls, as I was saying earlier, my favorite people from all the way around the world in one space at one time, which is absolutely beautiful. The vision for these gatherings is simple and yet powerful. It's to raise the vibrational frequency of the collective, to foster unity. And that's what actually binds us all together, is bringing in that space of unity and offer support to those that are embarking on their spiritual journey, that are looking for guidance, regardless of the path that they are on. And this is just a safe space to talk about what we've been seeing happening with our clients, with ourselves, and around the world, and how we can support people. So I would like to do some introductions very, very quickly, and I'll just go from the top of my screen. And then I'd also like you to just state what it is that you've been seeing with your clients as well. So I'm going to start with you, Joe, at the top of my screen.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited. Other than working a lot, I only talk with my children, so it's great to be here. Um, a lot has been coming up for me personally, but as well with my clients. For me, in the last few months, I would say it's a lot of old releasing from the root chakra, and that directly links to the heart, which directly links to the mind. So it's almost like reconnecting all of it, but a lot of heart opening. And it doesn't always feel great because we're not so used to it. So I've seen a lot of, for me, it's mostly in the heart in the last few months, even years, but most lately. And yeah, it's been a lot of reconnection with Mother Earth as well, right? So it's back to the basic, really, what has been happening for me. So
Beautiful. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Rally.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to meet you all. I'm so pleased to be here. Um, so, for me personally, it's been primarily around a health issue with the kidneys, which came completely unexpected. Um, and definitely, it's forcing me to slow down and, similar to Joe, reconnect with nature, be very present in the moment, and don't rush myself. That's been kind of because I'm in Canada, we have, universal healthcare, but it often leads to a very long wait. So it's like kind of surrendering to the process of like, I have to just wait. And I'm not a very patient person. So that's been frustrating. A lot of my clients, I have a lot of clients in North America, specifically in America, and there are a lot of financial issues that people are starting to experience or not even experiencing yet, but it's almost like pre-prepping for. So there's a discontent with that, I think, across the board, as well as a lot of anger I've noticed in my clients. But also, I have a public platform and a lot more anger being directed, like towards me, towards others. So that's been very interesting as well. Um, Louise Hay calls kidney stones lumps of unresolved anger. So I also think that that's really interesting. So I think just more irritability as a whole, I've noticed.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. John.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you, Natasha. Um, I'm John Binney. Hello, everyone. And it's lovely to be here and to meet you all. It's so exciting. I'm also based in Scotland. I'm a psychic and spiritual mentor, doing a whole range of work. And I've been 11 months now doing this work full time since I left my corporate job in Amazon. Themes for me and my clients. So there's a gradual shift of people feeling like there's this anger and frustration and mourning and lack of the loss of our old world, of the old systems. But they're my terms. It's not what my clients would say. They would say, "This world is falling apart. What do I do?" But the sessions are very much guided to a journey of, okay, you get to choose. You get to choose a lower vibrational earth or a higher vibrational earth, and everyone gets a choice and everyone gets their own unique journey. Other themes have been extraterrestrial contact, so a lot more work with our galactic brothers and sisters and helping people with their own, safe and discerning contacts. And it seems to be to help, to help both represent Earth and then also to help us get the help we need when we ask for it. Um, And another theme has been for those that choose a path like I chose to leave my corporate job, for those of us that choose our heart aligned paths, our life missions, helping people both find those and then help them realize that you will be provided for. Like you, this world, this universe will absolutely provide for you. And just as we were setting up, that was the message I was getting, was even stronger, was like, that will only get stronger because the desire, the need for it is only going to increase. So for those of us that are watching this and wondering, should I do that thing? Should I follow my passion? Do it.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Thanks, John. Mabato, what's what you've been seeing in your world?
Hi, everybody. It's so good to see you all. So I'm doing a lot of research and writing, and for the past 3 weeks, it has been around religion, theology, and Christianity in particular. And just recognizing how Western Christianity in particular has been a state religion for so long, and as a result, how it got entangled into politics and capitalism, sexism, and all of that, and how generally in the public, I don't think there is education around the distinction between Western Christianity and Orthodox or Eastern Christianity in particular. And I think they make for very interesting differences because they demonstrate the difference in worldview, which informs people's beliefs and how they do things. So that's been an interesting observation for me and my writing and my critique of Christianity. But also recognizing how there's just quite a lot of acceleration in terms of expansion in my world. So the kind of communities I've been yearning for and longing for are like coming together, which is really beautiful. A lot of creative work coming together as well. So it almost feels like I'm getting out of the seeding stage and, where things are coming to fruition. But at the same time, there's this big collapse that one is witnessing. And being able to support my clients in understanding where they are in their journeys and reassuring them that they're not wrong for feeling the discomfort and the tension and wanting something different, and actually beginning to sense into how does one create that ecosystem that can meet people where they are, in terms of support, but also local economy. So looking at entrepreneurship as well. So it's an interesting time all around. I think the death has been happening for a while. And now, the seeding, begins to kind of like sprout. I feel like the death has been happening. So now how do we reimagine those different communities and put it into practice? So, yeah.
Beautiful. That's lovely to see the growth that's happening in there as well. Lynn, how have things been going on your end?
Thanks, Natasha. And again, I just share the joy of us even being together in this collective space and manifesting that beautiful energy that we're all talking about. So for me personally, I feel almost like I'm playing with a kaleidoscope, and I haven't looked into one of those for so many years, but it's almost as if all the very poignant growth parts of my life, or the very devastating parts, I'm getting a re-glimpse of them as either it's anniversaries showing up or mirroring in a friendship or in a client. And I'm getting to sort of rethread the big events. And I feel almost it's a final shedding. It's kind of a few things that I'm like, I am so done with this. I need to clear this. I need to make sure I'm upgrading on this. So working really hard to do that. And then my clients presenting with this is the one thing then that I just can't shift. We have to shift it. I'm so done with it. So sort of mirroring this disintegration of the social constructs as we know and then the individuals being like, and I need to release this. So a lot of work around the divine feminine, healing those wounds, taking back our essence and our power. And I loved what you said, John, about stepping out in a way. I've just done the same as you. I've left an organization to just work fully immersed in what I'm passionate about. And my clients are doing the same. They're busting out of these boundaries and stepping onto the cliff. And I'm like, no, we're going to soar. We're not going to sink. And so witnessing that, and then the whole theme of kind of a lot of neurodiversity coming up, and people kind of getting these late onset diagnoses, and then being like, and what did this mean? And so playing in that arena seems to be a lot, but I would just say it's really connecting with this final kind of shedding so that there's this collective universal upgrade. So it's very exciting, and Joe, to resonate, also painful.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. Gary, what have you been finding?
Hello, everyone. I'm Gauri Kadam. Thank you so much, Natasha, for bringing me on board in this beautiful energy of all you lovely souls. What I've been noticing on my end is that my clients have been going through a lot of releasing of the limiting beliefs around growth and success, and also releasing limiting beliefs around money. Many people have started seeing that making money is very easy. You need to work on your frequency, and you can tap into the frequency of the divine abundance that you need, and you can move forward with that. Also, what I've also been noticing is that people are no longer afraid, especially my clients. They're not afraid of seeing the bigger picture. They're not afraid of tapping into divine possibilities. It's just they need the framework, or they need a roadmap. And once they see that framework moving forward, they can tap into the divine possibility, and it becomes a piece of cake for them. This theme of surrender has also come up a couple of times in my sessions. Surrendering to the divine. Once you've done everything, just surrender, let it be, and let the universe guide you, because you can see this much, but the universe has a much bigger picture for you. And the more you surrender, the more you allow the divine reality to take place. And also, after the temple visits that we did, I continued doing a couple of temple visits. The theme around most of them, like even now I was in Chennai, I went to a temple. There's a lot of grounding and anchoring that has been happening with the balancing of the divine feminine on a larger scale, and the masculine is there just to support. So that's what I'm seeing, that the feminine is really anchoring herself and bringing her into power, what we also call Shakti in Hindi. So the Shakti energy is getting more powerful as we see the days moving forward, is what I've been sensing for the past couple of days.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I've been noticing the same shift. For me, it's been kind of like I'm also stepping out of my own limitations. And I've also started noticing that some old patterns have been showing up that even before I left corporate has been showing up for me, in the sense of thought processes. And they seem so foreign to me as well, because it's been such a long time that we've worked through that. But I think it's important because, how I see them sometimes as echoes of things that need to be looked at again, and how we respond to them. The other thing that started coming through is leadership. A lot of people are being asked to step into that form of leadership, like you said, John, as well, is kind of like stepping in and actually doing things, leading your life as well. That has been coming in, like with you, Mubato, as well, with your groups and your community, starting to step into those leaders and starting to embodying the lives that we want to create as well. And all this collapse is important because I've also started noticing with my clients is like there's still a bit of a thread of this is happening to me, and my guides have been pretty strong in the sense of saying you're allowing this to happen to you. So it's like, if you're wanting to shift through this, you got to take ownership and responsibility of your own actions, your own thoughts, and what it is that is coming towards you. So it's stepping into that extra space of authenticity. And like you, Rally, that whole thing about being patient right now is important. And the other thing is seeing every season as it comes. Like I was saying, we're moving into our summertime, about us going into a winter time. It's all kind of like we're all in a different season, and honoring that season has become important, because I think a lot of times we try and force things before they're actually ready, or we give up instead of continuing to nurture these things that are coming up. And absolutely, the belief systems are coming up, especially with the new Pope, looking at, all sorts of the structures that I'm seeing kind of like politically, all these changes that are happening. And you're right, how do we support people in not anchoring them into the fear? Because I think a lot of the times behind anger is grief. And there's a lot of unresolved grief as we move through these different phases in our lives, these different seasons. It's frustrating because we don't have the tools, or it's painful. And we're so used to not sitting in the pain. We're so used to this quick fix instead of like embracing it like 100%, feeling it 100%, not sitting in it, but moving through it I find that's quite important. What do you guys think about everything that everybody's going through? This is just open conversation. John.
Well,
um, thank you. I didn't know, so I just raised my hand, or
Yeah.
but I like just firstly, it's so lovely to hear such a breadth and diversity of experiences, and the common themes are startling, right? We're all in this big home together, and we're all going through this big global transition together. Um, and I feel that stronger and stronger is that the divisions that we're used to in our old world, and so much of the grieving of our old world is the destruction of the boundaries themselves, or the kind of what feels a bit like the power struggles, like kind of picking up off the scraps of what was left behind. And yet I feel so drawn to helping create, helping inspire both within me. Like none of us really know what this new world's going to look like, but we got a feeling that it's going to feel better. It's going to feel more, as Gary was saying, like, abundance. Like if we have a monetary system, it's going to be more feeling, like a fullness in our solar plexus, a happiness, and not a guilt in our heart. And that it's our unity together that was going to help us save this planet, or co-create this planet together. One action that and this, you know me, Natasha, it's surprising I haven't done this yet, that I was guided to today, was to start showing up more in unexpected places. And so one example is LinkedIn. After 8 years in Amazon, 26 years in software, and I think there must be 1,000 people that follow me on LinkedIn that I've largely ignored for decades, to now show up to them and say, this is the new me. Like, some of them will absolutely believe I'm crazy. They'll think like, what happened to John? And but what's changing is the opportunity to show up as the whole me and say, I no longer discredit, the previous me. Like, it was part of my journey. I needed to be part of this world to learn how to help it. And now I feel more drawn to help show up and, for example, help people. My guides today said, John, could you post on LinkedIn something that says, ask people to challenge their own heart's alignment with that of their company, and challenge themselves and say, you're either going to, if you're not aligned, well, why not help change the company, or find another company that is, or build your own company. This new world we create together is aligned with our hearts. So what small steps can you make each day? One thing I did at Amazon is I just updated my phone directory to have my YouTube channel on it, and said, hey, I do a lot of psychic spiritual work. Come and check me out. There's like John Binney, senior software manager, does hobby, and then does these other things. Like, even the simple things like that can make a big difference.
Wonderful. I like that tactic. That's awesome. One of the other things about the divine masculine and the divine feminine energy, one of the messages that my guides gave yesterday was also for a business, is like, we need to start becoming heart-led. And it's almost like the mind is like the masculine energy provides the seed. And then it's the heart that takes it, nurtures it, and expands it, and builds it, and continues to move forward with that, which is beautiful. So that just reminded me of that. Joe?
Can I?
Yes.
I love hearing all the teams because they are really global, you know. Um, I can't see her on my screen. Sorry about that for the name. But if, in regards to the heart activation, for me, it was really in regards to authenticity and being our new self. And therefore, that's what happened. I saw a lot of rage, irritability, like all of the stuff that we labeled as bad. Now people are able to actually sit with them and not identify necessarily with it and just kind of go through it. But a lot of physical pain too that I saw from that. And it's funny because it was the liver, the kidneys as well for me, a lot of kidney stuff. And so that was interesting when you said that because it's definitely something I've been seeing as well. But for me too, if we keep it as a team, it's like elevating ourselves. So everybody's trying to elevate a bit how they do things, how can they start doing it differently? Like I'm showing a lot, like we don't have to do it like we were taught. Like we don't have to everything that we were taught, like times and how to do this and how to even channel and what crystals to wear and how to like the whole how is getting thrown out the window. So I'm excited about just making a new way of how we do everything. And I've been really playing with this, but it requires us really to kind of let go of something we thought we needed to be, we needed to do. You know, when I quit teaching like 5 years ago, well, because I was leaving fight or flight, working like crazy and all that took me about 2 years of like really kind of rebuilding my nervous system and whatnot. But it's like stepping into your out of your comfort zone. A lot of people thought I was crazy as well. It's just like, what happened to Joe? And even this week, I got invited to do full moon rituals, which I always do on my own. And at one point, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to keep that day for myself. It's a big moon. And I heard it. I'm like, no, you're not, go there and do it, right? So it's just like follow the what looks a bit like out of convention. And my clients have been going through that as well, but a lot of old stuff. It's almost like the end for the one who's been doing the work. It's like the end of the last attachment that keep us small is leaving. But it's been intense. It's a lot of energy here.
There's been a lot of the 512 portal has kind of like shifted things into a rebirthing process for sure. For sure. Mabato, what do you?
I just want to echo what you said, as well as what John said, with the more practical and political stuff that are happening in the world. I think for me, particularly here in South Africa, with my kind of work as a as someone who's very spiritual and who understands sort of like at the psychic and psychological level what has happened to people who have been dominated for so long. And, you know, the inability to make different choices. Earlier, you spoke about, you know, the sense of life is happening to me. That goes along with a sense of being a victim, you know, that often renders people disabled to make different choices in their lives. So I've been reading a book by a woman called Mampele Rampele. She was a businesswoman. She's a political activist. I think she might be in her 70s now. Around 2013, 2014, she founded her own political party, very educated, well off in business. And she really she recognized that South Africa needed transformation, not just a political change or political freedom. But in order to really realize Nelson Mandela's dream of the Rainbow Nation, there needed to be psychological transformation, something internal to change, right? And how, you know, after spending over 50 million rand with this political party and really feeling like the people understood what active citizenship meant and what taking charge and responsibility for ourselves looks like during the campaign, electoral campaign, and to lose dismally, at the end, by just getting 2 seats in parliament. And the sense of betrayal she felt after that, so in her book, she really speaks about what she learned about South Africans then and what happens when a people have been conditioned to believe in the handouts of social security grants, the lack of proper history or education around history, so that Black people in South Africa can have a sense of they've had heroes. Our history is not that of only subjugation and racial oppression. So that people can begin to remember who they are, be beyond what has happened to them is so important. But it also speaks to a deeper sense of individual agency that people just globally seem to not have. I mean, you look at American politics as well, the USA. The people who have voted for Trump are people who are largely uneducated as well, poor to middle class people who feel very threatened by racial equality, as an example. So how we begin to speak about what has happened is so important, to give language to the social ills that have befallen humanity is so important for our ability to move forward in an authentic way, to avoid just glossing over the problem for the sake of peace, because that never works, right? So yeah, it's just really interesting, some of the themes that are coming up, and how for me they also speak to a broader geopolitical conversation that I think is not being had.
Yeah. Len?
Thanks for what you said, Mbata. The author you speak of, her book, Resiliency in the Face of Adversity, was a textbook in my first year of social work when I was at UCT in Cape Town. And a profound book, I do remember, and her speaking to the strength of, and the culture when in light of such significant adversity, there is this resiliency that does create cracks and fractures, and then can grow. And I think we're speaking to the same concept now. We could just switch out what the adversity is. And I think the adversity being we've lived under social constructs for so long that have oppressed spirituality. And what we're talking about now is the resiliency we're experiencing in the group and with the beautiful clients we work with and our friends and our colleagues, of being resilient in the light of the adversity. John, when you said, you're on your Amazon profile, you're challenging the concept of, I'm not just this, individual in IT and programming. And I think that's what we're speaking to, is the world is stretching into the resiliency of challenging. Can I show up as this light worker? Can I be that way and tolerate possible shaming? And, we've gone crazy. I mean, I'm sure all of us here, I know I've just done something too, and most of my world thought I was absolutely nuts. But it was one of very important spiritual experience for me. So I just think we're doing that. We're stretching that adversity, no matter what cultural background we grew up in. And I think we're seeing it around the world.
Beautiful. Yes, absolutely. Gary?
I absolutely agree with what everyone has shared, like listening to bits and pieces of information from everyone. Like John was saying that, being called to come on LinkedIn, that's been a calling that's been coming in for me very strongly, like to make a presence, be told in front of social media and not fear about judgment. I think that fear is no longer existing. And that's not just with me, but with many people right now. The fear of judgment, the fear of you don't know any better. Like, it doesn't matter. What I know is what I'm going to share, whether you like it or not. If you don't like it, there are other portals, there are other people giving out information. You can go to them. The other thing that Mabato just shared, that has been a theme that has been coming up, especially with the geopolitical scene in India, with everything that's been happening. So a couple of days ago, I was just reading the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and in that, I actually wrote down the verse. So chapter 2, verse 56, I will read out in English and then I'll do the translation in Hindi. It says that whose mind is not shaken by adversity, or who in prosperity does not hanker after pleasure, who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady wisdom. And it felt so apt for the time that we are in, that if you surrender and if you just give in and you trust that the universe does have your back, everything's just going to fall into place. Letting go of fear has been a major theme that has been coming up constantly, day after day, especially after the 5-5 portal that happened recently. Majorly, many people are letting go of the fear around what's going to happen next. I don't see that fear anymore, but where it was more prominent before the portal. After the portal, people are just like, you know what, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and we're just going to face it with a lot of grace and dignity. And we're not worried about what it's going to look like, especially in this part of the region that I'm in, which is very rare given the current situation that we are living in. I'm not seeing a lot of fear around me, which is very beautiful to see as well.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. Rally, you've been. Nope. Let me see if I can shift it from here. There you go.
Sorry, my unmute button wasn't on my screen, which I thought
Oh,
was interesting.
very well.
Um, Thank you all. Like that, it's very interesting because I keep getting these like goosebumps and forgetting a lot of the things, and it's bringing back up like conversations I've had over the last month. I think I've told like 3 or 4 people you need to start posting on LinkedIn. Like, why? I can't possibly share this. It's like, yes, the framework for businesses I think is shifting rapidly, which is why there's like this holding on from these old businesses of like this is the way we have to do things, and then it's not working for anybody. So we're seeing like shifts, massive, massive shifts, really from the top up. And this is why I think people are feeling the sense of instability, but it's creating an open space for new, more heart-led businesses. So it's just very, very interesting to kind of hear these themes. And I think it's also about just like acknowledging that things need to actually fall apart in order to build something new. And there's like this desperate clinging to these things. And we saw that, I think, first with COVID, where things had a big opportunity to shift. But then we just held on, we doubled down and held on even further. But it's like, obviously, we're going through this massive cycle here of letting go. And I think one of the things that I've really noticed works across the board with myself, but also with my clients, is just having a sense of like, actually humor, because things have been so heavy that if you can just crack through and have a little giggle and then say, what are we going to do about this? I feel like that's an element that's kind of missing, is that playfulness. And I think playfulness in the face of such extreme struggles and challenges, I feel like that's like a resilient act and an act of really rebellion in and of itself. Um, so thank you all. I feel like it's just interesting that we're all in such different places geographically, but it seems like this is really across the world right now. So it's just very interesting to hear. So thank you guys.
Beautiful. Thank you all for sharing that. And you're absolutely right. It's so funny because like more and more what's been coming up for me is that we are the ones who give life meaning. It's meaningless. We give meaning to the situations that we're in based on our filters. So, what if we were to give it a different meaning in a sense of how is it actually working for us? Because that's what creates resilience. We find ourselves in the face of adversity and we find different ways of moving through things. So, even if we were to take something as simple as kind of like neurodiversity, as Lynn mentioned, neurodiverse people have found different ways to cope and to fit in, and it's brilliant. South Africa was sanctioned for such a long time, but we ended up coming out with like these amazing, like innovative products and situations, so that, that really supported, as well as other countries. So I think it's really about that resilience of, how's this working for me? How's it helped me grow as a person? And I think Louise Hayes, sometimes when we were working through trauma, she used to talk about feeling the feelings 100% and then moving through them, is really understanding them, feeling the uncomfortable and moving through that, and then not going back into the bin to actually pick up yesterday's dinner because it's done. Because I think that we keep perpetuating sometimes the limitations, instead of moving on. And you're absolutely right in the sense of, we tend to hold on to what we know. And a lot of my guides have been saying, let go of that, because so many people are striving for perfectionism, and perfectionism, I tend to see it as just a point on the cycle. It's the glass ceiling before we move into the next cycle. And I can see why globally there's a massive awakening because of all of this uncomfortable, because the systems are breaking. It's in the shadow that we do the most growth. So we're being faced with looking at our shadow aspect of us and saying, okay, so you've been hit with it. How's it worked for you? How's it made you more resilient? How has it changed you? But how are you making the decisions in moving forward? How are you moving through this? And it's so funny because I've had quite a lot happen to me in the last couple of weeks that has actually hit me in a few different directions. So much so, like, I'll give you an example. I got home. I was recently went to a spiritual summit in Portugal to do my own healing, which was great. This year's a year of healing for me, and getting into the uncomfortable. And one of my teenage kids had a small gathering with friends, and they had one of those portable barbecues or braai. And somebody had decided that, so that it didn't hurt the dogs, they didn't put it out with water. They put it out on one of the roofs. And I woke up to smoke alarms going off and the house is on fire, not realizing that somebody had done that. So I quickly put it out. But in that space, I seem to have found myself in this neutral space. When I'm finding adversity, usually I used to go into my body. I used to have these full on kind of like through my body, like, oh crap, this is going on, or these massive, massive emotions. But I'm starting to find myself in this neutral space right now, and kind of like, okay, let's deal with it. Let's move through that. And then actually sitting in this very grounded space of, how do we move through this? Another thing that I went through is, I was waiting for some very important paperwork to deal with legal, and the person just didn't send them on time. And I was needing to do this work in Portugal. And it was so funny because a friend that I was with, they were just absolutely, it really, really triggered them. And I was like, no, I'm in this space of like, I'm not sending any bad juju. I'm sending them, they're obviously going, I just want to get through the situation and get what I need. But there wasn't a charge to it. And I found that quite bizarre, in a sense of, am I avoiding? Am I like, what's going on here? But then I found it in a space of calm. Um, so yeah, so it's trying to bring that calm to the situation in order to move through that. So I don't know, what do you guys think about all of that, and how do we move through these things? Yeah, Joe.
For me, Natasha, I feel the same. A lot has been thrown at me, like things that were supposed to get done got moved, and things that are supposed to be finished are not happening, things like that, just life. But I find myself also just being able to I was asking myself the same question, wait a minute, am I kind of avoiding this? Because it was just neutral. Even if it was like not what it's like a bit chaotic, my center was neutral. And it's so much easier to just kind of like, the surrender is huge. The team surrender, like you eventually, if you want to kind of elevate and move on. So I've been finding that as well, going through kind of harsh things, but super neutral. And it's great. Sometimes it's not, obviously. Sometimes you have to sit in it.
Yeah.
But mostly I just found like detaching from it quite rapidly and returning to center. And that's great because sometimes it lasted longer. And I just found the shift happens quicker to return to center quickly. So that's been fun.
Yeah, I can't grab it. John.
I love that, Natasha and Joe. I've been on a journey like many people around the world facing my fear of lack. And what you're describing, this neutrality, I can, the way I've been feeling it is I feel like I'm just like at the very end of that cycle of like healing cycle of lack and fear is that um, I feel a bit like it's like one of these uh, dolls that's weighted at the bottom. You can like rock it around, but it won't fall over. And that's how I feel like now that my solar plex feels full. I feel abundance. Of like, it's okay, John. Wealth and abundance is not a number in your account, and it's not how many people follow you. It is a feeling. It's a feeling in my solar plexus, in my heart. And I do a little monthly review, like reflections of my life, my business, and I post on YouTube each month. And for the first time, I was like, I had some past life healing, which was very traumatic, and I like cried for ages. And that was made that video public. And I was like, I want to tell my story as much as I can about those shadows I faced, because I feel that I want everyone to know my shadows, partly for transparency, but also to encourage them to face theirs. What shocked me to both Joe and Natasha, like your points, was that I didn't I didn't know what I was missing. I'm 48. I've been used to 47 and a half years of lack, really. And other people telling me there's no money in that, you'll never earn, like how are you gonna, how are you gonna provide for your family? Like all the why you shouldn't, and then but never really questioning, is there a different way of living? Is there a new way where I just feel abundant? And when I feel abundant, I don't panic so much. I don't, like, my whole world isn't so brittle. I'm just used to receiving. I'm used to surrendering and saying, okay, it's going to work out. I'm going to receive, something will come. It always does. And so if these kind of crisis situations happen, I'll deal with them in the moment because I trust myself I can do that. And then, I can reflect on it afterwards and learn the lessons. But yeah, thank you. It reminded me so much of I was doing a crying video of me crying happy tears of joy, celebrating a year after leaving my corporate job. And that feeling I never knew was possible. For me, it feels so much like not just my new life, but a big part, like a linchpin as part of our new world, is that we will never look at each other again and be envious or feel greed towards others, that we'll feel happy and content within ourselves and seek to help each other and to help be the miracles for each other, not the profiting from each other. So thank you.
Oh, I love that. Thanks, John. Absolutely. Yes, Gary.
I completely agree with John, and I've been sharing with Natasha. We've been getting on a couple of calls. This year definitely feels like a rebirth for me. It feels like letting go of the weight that has not been honoring me, that's not been empowering me in my journey moving forward. And how do I let it go? Like John said, that is there a different way to look at this? Is there a different way to live this? Even when it comes to manifesting abundance, is there a different way to do it? Because I've been doing it for a long time. Clearly, that's not working. How about I try frequency shifts? But when you do start researching frequency shifts, where do you start from it? Like, it's so overwhelming. The pool is so massive. Like, where do you go? Which direction do you head in? So it's been overwhelming, exciting, and happy all at the same time, like experiencing all these different emotions at the same time. What I've definitely learned is to have fun. Just have fun. The more I make it serious, the more scary it gets, the more overwhelming it gets. So if I just learn to have fun, and Natasha's been on my head, she's like, just have fun, girl. So the more I have fun with things, the more easier they get for me. Even when it comes to, like, I'm making a big move right now, moving from India to Dubai. So all of this has been overwhelming, but at the same time, just remembering that the more I have fun, the more I surrender, and the more I let go of the things that are not important right now. Let's go with the checklist. What have I done? What can I do? If I've done this, great, let's move on. Like, make it easier, make it shorter, make it concise. And yes, look at the bigger picture, but at the same time, look at the steps that you need to take. If I can take these steps, then I'm one step closer to making that big move, the big shift. Everything just falls into place. So, just looking at what's in front and just ticking off the things in front of me. that's been very empowering and powerful for me.
Beautiful. So I saw a quote today, and it just reminded me because the other theme that I'm working through as well at the same time, which is quite paradoxical, is that I realize that I've also been in survival, and that we shouldn't we've been taught to be in survival all our lives, and it's really about we've explored that theme of survival and moving into thriving. And today there was a quote that I saw in my diary of Harriet Tubman, where she said, "I freed 1,000 slaves, and I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves." And that was me realizing I did not know how enslaved and how conditioned we all are in so many ways. And it's moving through those conditions that it's like it's quite incredible as we start doing that soul, like where did this conditioning come from? Absolutely, it's ancestral, it's taught, it's the countries that we lived in, the cultures that we've lived in, it's all there. But it's almost looking at where am I still being a slave? Where am I still being in that condition? Where am I? Because you don't know what you don't know until you're out of it. So it's absolutely beautiful that we're all called right now to put those things in LinkedIn to start to actually shift into that saying, okay, like, wait a minute, this isn't right anymore. And that's absolutely beautiful. So yeah, thank you so much, because that really calls home. Mabato.
Yeah, I love what you've just shared. And thank you, everyone. Interesting times we are finding ourselves in. But Natasha, this book that I'm reading again, she speaks about how, and other scholars I read and learn from have said this in different ways, how the problem of lack of reflection that you are talking about. So, Harriet Tubman, I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew.
Yeah.
I tie it to our times, for example, racism and feeling like a victim, right? So if I keep on feeling inferior, and this is actually one of the key symptoms that people who have been oppressed live with, the conditioning of an internalized inferiority complex, right? So if I feel this and I live into it, because inferiority complex can make you not do things you are very capable of doing, right? Or it can make you not take responsibility for things you can take responsibility for, or it can make you not take action because you are in that victim, like me, sort of like mode, right? But at the same time, a superiority complex is also just as devastating, because when you suffer from a superiority complex, you cease to see other people, right? There's a sense of a lack of reflection or a sense of humility that is lacking, to just hear, what can I learn from other people? How can I be better? What are my blind spots actually? So it's interesting how both sides of the same coin are equally as destructive, and how a virtue like humility, which is a big part of Ubuntu or Oboto, plays a key role in just being able to listen, in just being able to say, how can I learn from the next person? And for me, that speaks to ethical relationality, where I can put myself on the other side and actually try to learn, then to assume that I know everything. So it's just interesting to see how the assumptions we make about both ends can be so misleading, and often do not encourage growth, and yet we do not look at them in those ways.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Lynn, I know you need to drop off. Is there any last words you would like to say?
Just thank you so much, everybody, for this time and space and sharing together. It's just wonderful. I look forward to the next time. And I'm just so touched by everybody's journey and their vulnerability to share and grow together. So onward and upward for us all. And I look forward to seeing what the next month holds for all of us.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye. Absolutely, Mabato. Thank you so much and we do have to look at all sides of the scale and that's the beautiful thing about seeing people as mirrors for us, right? Which is absolutely stunning in the sense of not only you know, what have they come to teach us? But the things that we admire within each other, we admire it because it's also a fabric of what is within us as well, which is beautiful. But it also comes those triggers or those ones that, yeah, and you're right, humility is absolutely brilliant in that sense of bringing in that balance or that check as well, which is absolutely, yeah, I think we need to keep ourselves in alignment. But we're also here to experience all sides of the scale as well, because that's how we learn too. Absolutely. Any last words from everybody before we jump out, John?
It's just such an honor. Thank you. It's such an honor to connect with so many people around the world, and it is inspirational to see both to hear your journeys, and to be inspired by what's coming, like what we're all receiving and co-creating together. So thank you, Natasha.
Absolutely.
Alert from reminders. Where am I vibrating?
Whoa. I love that. Well, any last words before we leave today's session, Mabato?
I'm just so grateful to be here in conversation and yeah, to just really be in the same time and space with you guys.
Yeah, same with me as well. Thank you. Gary?
Same. I'm just absolutely grateful to be sharing this platform with all these beautiful souls from across the globe and just hearing everyone's journey. It's so inspiring and humbling at the same time. So thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Riley?
Yeah, same thing. I feel full body goosebumps, so many interesting points raised today. So thank you. I have a lot to think about after this and a different sort of framework, I think, to approach some of these larger scale issues. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. And Joe?
Thank you so much. I'm grateful as well to be here with you guys. And you know what I like the most is I've been teaching my private kind of circle, like shadow and darkness. And it's amazing to see that, of course, we go through it as well. And that we can be vulnerable and share. Like people think, oh, like you swear or you have like emotion. It's like absolutely. And it's true. The more we can dive into it. So it's amazing to see that we, like even the one who are really striving to do our work, of course, are going through it. So it's amazing to be vulnerable and to share with each other. Like we go through darkness as well. Darkness is just a label, so it's just amazing to be like, know that we're not alone, really. And that's what we have to teach others as well, because we feel like we're the only one going through certain things, and yet we all go through it. It's just different depth. So it's good. It's like, I'm glad, like, to see that I'm not alone. So thank you so much.
Thank you all for saying yes to this. Thank you all for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. And it truly is an honor. And as you say, Mabad, this truly is humbling having all of you in this space at the same time, sharing your experiences, your knowledge, and your wisdom. I will below this video. I'll put in all of your bios and ways of how people can get a hold of you if they want to reach out. I would like to do this live next time in June so that we can start taking questions in from people and trying to support and bring in unity and to show absolutely completely global Earth Council, as John kind of like channeled for this group in supporting to raise the frequency of the collective. So thank you for saying yes. It's a complete honor to have you all here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.